'Twas the season indeed for typical white savagery. Normally during these white holidays, kids get gifts for being good, but the pale males have been extra bad this year, so they've earned a double header of white-on-white crime. This is going to be a basic roundup of typical white-on-white criminality that the white media has censored. I selected these stories at random because they all occurred around December 25th. The first one, on December 21st, 2016, Cottondale, Alabama. Seems one of the inbreds took some time away from picking his fleas to go looking for a victim. He found one, Jeanette Sims Brannon. Brannon was last seen on December 2nd, and on December 9th she was officially reported missing. On December 21st, her corpse was found wrapped in plastic, hands and feet bound, with a traumatic injury to the head. The body was discovered in a wooded area at the bottom of an embankment near the home of one Charles Richard Sexton. I know, he, looks like a typical white man, doesn't he? Investigators searched Sexton's home and found evidence linking him to the crime. Sexton gave a deposition to the police, but the cops say his story kept changing, with Sexton giving them multiple versions of the events the night that Brannon died. According to Sexton, he and Brannon got involved in an altercation. Sexton then claimed to have gone to bed, and when he woke up, he found Brannon mysteriously dead on the floor. Sexton then did what any white man would do. He wrapped her up in plastic and moved her to a trash dump behind his home. Now, this is a white man, so it won't surprise you at all to learn that he has been arrested multiple times for violent crimes, and that almost all of those charges were dismissed. Last year, he was indicted on a second-degree assault charge after he injured a man with a knife, records show. That case was dismissed. In 2013, Sexton was charged with menacing after he broke into a home armed with a knife and threatened both a man and a woman. Again, that case was dismissed. In 2010, Sexton was arrested on third-degree assault after a woman said Sexton hit her multiple times in the face. He was found guilty of a misdemeanor and received a certificate of completion for a court-ordered anger management program. As usual, when you're white, your skin is your get-out-of-jail-free card, and I strongly suspect that this latest incident will be no exception. Although he's been charged with murder, he's got a bail of only $75,000, which he easily met, and is now out on bond since December 22nd. Well, that didn't take long now, did it? Unless you think that his admitting to wrapping her body up means that he'll instantly be found guilty, don't bet on it. White people are on code for one another, and that means that they will not be convicting a white person for anything these days. And even if the jury is of a mind to convict, as I've told you in my earlier white-on-white crime segments, when a white person dumps a body, that's usually all that they're found guilty of. And in most jurisdictions, improper disposal of a body, otherwise known as desecration of a corpse, typically carries a maximum penalty of 7 years, often with a fine of $8,000, though in most cases, all the person pays is a fine. Sexton is white, so the prosecution isn't going to waste time trying to figure out how to give him any real time in prison. Go rewatch my very first white-on-white crime segment about the Reed brothers. John Reed murdered both his white neighbors, and his brother Tony Reed was invited over to help him pack up their bodies and to help him dispose of the murdered couple's cars and their corpses. And after Tony helped his brother to flee the country, he himself was arrested, but only charged with a gross misdemeanor of rendering criminal aid, the maximum fine for which is only a year in prison. No matter how high the charges initially are, when the suspect is white, they always get knocked down to a misdemeanor. And the reason you don't see any outrage about this constant revolving door for white males is because the white media deliberately doesn't follow up on these stories. They know white males are getting a slap on the wrist for major crimes and being immediately re-released. But the code of white privilege matters more than any white people's laws, or even white people's lives. So the white media plays their part and helps distract the public by making up hoaxes like the knockout game, or creating fictions about black people killing cops. So long as the white media continues to hyper-obsess over every black person accused of a purse snatching, they can redirect attention away from the steady flood of white corpses being created by white people every single day. But as bad as that murder was, the white-on-white Christmas kill spree was just getting started. December 24th, 2016. With all this rampant white criminality, they need to stop calling December 24th Christmas Eve and instead call it Christmas Evil. See what I did there? We start off in Iredell, North Carolina for this one. Gary Love had been involved in a relationship with Robin Denman back when they both lived in New York. Since then, she'd moved south and was living with her 14-year-old daughter. On Christmas Eve, Gary Love is described by police as a transient who had been in the area for about 3 months and was staying with Denman. In true European style, whenever someone shows a white person kindness, they reward them by raping and killing them. Love bound and raped both of his 2 female hosts repeatedly. He then put the tied-up 14-year-old in a closet and proceeded to murder Robin Denman brutally. The 14-year-old still had her phone and sent a text message to a friend that said, "Call 911, me and my mom need help fast." Local sheriffs went to the Denman home and Gary Love answered the door. It was then that the 14-year-old made her break for it and ran out of the house. At the front entrance, police were still questioning Gary Love, who attempted a feeble lie about the 2 females having gone to a funeral. But then he panicked and ran out the back door. He was later found and arrested. The 14-year-old had to be taken to a hospital to be treated for injuries and at last report was staying with relatives. Being a white thug, he naturally has a criminal record, making it totally predictable that he'd pull a stunt like this. The Iredell County Sheriff's Office said that Love faces an outstanding domestic violence arrest warrant from Ohio, where that victim also had a protective order against him. At current, Love faces 10 counts of felony statutory sex offense with a child less than 15 years of age, 1 count of felony first-degree kidnapping, 1 count felony indecent liberties with a child, 1 count felony sexual servitude with child victim, and 1 count assault on a female. Now, just like Brock Turner and Spencer Bird, who both were found guilty of rape, I fully expect for Gary Love to also have all of his charges knocked down and for him to be loose on the streets. And as for the deceased, well, bad stuff happens, right? But the white-on-white Christmas Evil was only just getting started. Timothy Lynn Porter murdered Derek Lynn Bjarnson, yet another of the 1,000,001 stories of typical white criminality that the white media has chosen not to cover. Timothy Porter told police that he and his girlfriend were having drinks with the victim, Derek Lynn Bjarnson, 26, when Bjarnson said something about Porter's girlfriend and their baby daughter that offended Porter. Porter said when he confronted Bjarnson about the comment, Bjarnson attacked him. Porter claimed that Bjarnson's attack was so fierce that he, Porter, had no choice but to curl up into a ball on the couch, and that he was so scared of what Bjarnson would do to him and his family. Oh God, there goes yet another white male with the old "I was scared for my life" spiel. But hey, it's been successful this many times, why stop telling that lie now? Porter then said at that point he reached for a long knife that he described as a small sword about 14 inches long that was between the cushions of the couch and stabbed Bjarnson in the heart. Well, nice to know that somebody keeps a small sword wedged in between the cushions of your couch, just in case one of your buddies offends you and you gotta kill him. Porter has an extensive criminal history, no surprise. Since 2003, he's been charged with 30 different crimes, ranging from 2 DUIs, possession of controlled substances, disorderly conduct, and driving with a suspended license 11 different times. Now, if he was black, any one of those would have had him in prison. He was convicted of at least 2 felonies, one for drug paraphernalia possession in 2003 and in 2012 assaulting an officer and a bouncer at Big D's Bar and Grill, and then spitting in the face of another officer. Just wondering when the white trolls on the internet are going to blame Black Lives Matters for that one. Now we move on to Christmas Day itself. Christmas is supposed to be a time for peace, but for white people, Christmas is a prime opportunity for murder because everybody has let their guard down. Nothing is more natural to the European than rape, murder, and mayhem, so this would be a very white Christmas indeed. See what I did there? Franklin, Ohio, December 25th. And yes, before you comment, I do realize this guy looks typically simian. Those Neanderthal genes sure came out pretty clear with this one, huh? Anyway, the trailer apes were at it again, and this time Zachary Lee Wilson shot his friend, Jeremy Thomas Fox, just before 9:30 p.m. Fox wandered from the scene of the shooting and collapsed some blocks away. Wilson was arrested and his bond set at $500,000, and although the white authorities are claiming they're going to charge him with murder, we all know how the white privilege two-step works. The charges will be reduced at trial or thrown out altogether. This guy will claim that he was afraid for his life, or high on drugs, or some other pile of crap, and because he's white, the authorities will agree that he's to be let go. There's no word on his prior criminal record, but he's white, so it's a no-brainer that he's got a rap sheet long as your arm, and he'll still be given a sweetheart plea deal by the prosecutors. Not even the fact that he killed a man on Christmas Day will matter. He's white, and that is all that matters. And this brings us to our final report on the white mayhem that the white media is ignoring. Blue lives still don't matter. Especially not to white people. December 30th, 2016. Pennsylvania State Trooper Landon Weaver was fatally shot after responding to a reported violation of a protection from abuse order. His killer, Jason Robinson, was killed the next day. Jason Robinson is white, so it goes without saying he had been arrested more than a dozen times on charges that included making threats, assault, theft, and driving on a revoked license. Robinson last appeared in court December 16th when he was released on theft and driving charges after posting $10,000 bail. So, you commit multiple felonies and you get off with a simple $10,000 bail, which in practice means all he had to do was come up with $1,000. And 2 weeks later, he kills a cop. Predictable white criminality. Now, although there's a few stories posted online about this cop killing, only a few of them have posted what I'm going to tell you next. Remember how I told you that Robinson was released on December 16th for his latest criminal offense? Well, he has a Facebook profile, and the very next day, according to the Center Daily Times, Robinson posted anti-police comments on his Facebook page. Quote, "The only good cop is a dead cop," he reportedly wrote in a December 17th post that was later deleted. The post included images of a police cruiser that had been involved in an accident and an injured officer. So, aren't the pale males going to come out of the woodwork and blame Black Lives Matter for this one? Now, this happening in the middle of the holidays, you would think the white media would plaster this wall to wall. Certainly the right-wing media would, right? After all, they scoured the net for anything relating to Micah Johnson and Gavin Long, and neither one of those men had a criminal record. but a career convict like this Robinson chap, and the white media is suddenly disinterested. Aren't we supposed to see some bloated pale male police chief or state trooper chief lecturing us about how police are being targeted? Isn't Fox News supposed to be running one of their fraudulent war on cops segments? Isn't CNN supposed to have the police chief and the mayor on to tell everyone how dangerous police work is and how there's a rampant culture of anti-police rhetoric that's fueling all of these ambushes of police? Isn't President Obama supposed to be signing some bullcrap police protection law, or some group of fascists in a state legislature supposed to be doing the same? We have a white guy who's a violent career criminal, who had numerous felonies, who posted anti-police messages online and then went out and killed a cop, yet no one is interested in trying to send the pale males any message by signing some ridiculous police protection law. And this isn't the first time. Remember the white-on-white crime piece I posted on November 2nd about Scott Michael Green, the white Confederate flag-waving thug who ambushed and murdered 2 Iowa police officers, all because he was angry that he got ejected from a high school football game for making a racist display? There was a notable lack of outrage after he was killed by police, and no legislation that followed after on that one either. Now you understand what's really going on here. Blue lives only matter if their deaths can be used to promote white supremacy's anti-black agenda. You have the white media and the white police playing favorites when it comes to which police killings matter and which ones don't. And the pale males clearly get the message. If you're a white man, then when you kill a cop, it doesn't really matter. You have an epidemic of white males targeting police. Last November alone, 8 were killed by white men in only a little over a week. Now, if there had been so much as 1 killed by a black man, that would be the lead story for days on end. But because the first goal of white supremacy is to protect white people from all consequences for their actions, this goes totally ignored. So, while Landon Weaver is getting ready to be buried, the next white male is preparing to carry out his own personal war on cops, and they know they don't have to fear anyone stopping them, because even the densest of white people fully realizes that when you're white, the white media gives you a pass, and the white police won't bother to do anything until after you kill a cop, and even then they still may not do much. So, as white America continues to make the United States look like the sequel to Mad Max, the rest of us are tooling up, just in case some Michael Slager, Dylan Roof wannabe decides to try to see if we're a soft target. White people need to fix the problems in their community. When you have all the money, all the political power, and all the economic and social guarantees the society can possibly give, then the crime rate in your community is supposed to be 0. So, white people, you need to clean up your act. You have no excuse for how you're behaving. The resources you've stolen would be much better in the hands of the people you stole them from. People who have become less crime-prone as they become more prosperous, because clearly you have a sociopathology that is immune to financial or social conditions. And that being the case, it's a total waste to allow you to keep your current position. Not that black people need to take it away from you. You're doing a fine job of killing yourselves off, and the worst part is you refuse to even acknowledge what white people are doing to each other. And that's the reason why it won't be long at all before I have to report to you about yet another tragedy in the self-inflicted genocide of white-on-white crime.